Something wild is happening with Dune Part 2. It has been all I've seen on social media since its release in theaters Friday, March 1st, and for good reason. I saw it in theaters at the 6:30 showing on Friday, and it is easily one of the most influential theater-going experiences of my life thus far. There is so much to unpack. Performances, the scale of this piece. I don't even think it's worth mentioning the cinematography because the cinematography is that good. It's just, you disappear into it. Like, do you understand that statement? You just disappear into this world. I felt like I had to make this video, stamp where I was and how I felt in this time and space in film, because I believe Denis Villeneuve has accomplished an amazing feat in cinematic history with Dune Part 2. When massive budget meets complex but amazing storytelling, directing, content, care taken with a piece of media, it might be the most satisfying feeling there is as a viewer and lover of film. The timing of this film, coming, I think, 2 weeks after Madame Web's flop, is a huge tell to how rare something like Dune Part 2 is in cinema these days, or at all. We've been at a place for a good amount of time where we either have kind of a cookie-cutter, somewhat uninteresting blockbuster, mostly superhero films dominating the world of film, and then smaller, indie, A24-esque films picking up their slack and telling the stories that we truly connect with. And this was fine. Most of my favorite films from the past couple of years have been these smaller neo-realistic films that I think have such an impact on us because of the dichotomy between them and the big budget pieces. And like I said, those have been the films that have taken my breath away over the past few years, not from world building and scale, but from emotional depth and incredible storytelling. And then Dune Part 2 came out, and you kind of just get everything. I'm not going to sit here and act like this has or even has the ability to have the amount of emotional depth that like a neo-realistic A24-esque, like I said, indie film is able to have, but there are heart-shattering, tragic, triumphant, beautiful moments, and it's incredibly intimate, even at the scale of being an entire different galaxy than the one we're in. It's fictional. It still portrays the human experience and deals with themes such as loss, love, war, power, and more, while being one of the most easy to immerse in worlds I've ever witnessed or immersed in. This film honestly felt like it was calling out every single film that's ever been made with a massive budget, saying loudly and proudly, here is what viewers deserve. This is the standard. It is going to be so exciting to see where cinema goes after this. I don't feel like I have to give a synopsis for the film here, but I have read the first Dune book, and even I was on the edge of my seat for the entirety of this movie. There was not a single scene that dragged. Every single one was jam-packed, but didn't leave you behind. Denis Villeneuve is a wizard. This flowed perfectly. I cannot actually think of a flaw. And risks were taken. Boy, were risks taken. Sometimes you can just tell that a director has given each of their actors a large amount of autonomy and authority over their characters, trusting them with the source material and believing in their decisions, not just before and on set, but also in the cutting room. And Denis treated his actors like family in that regard. Every single person has their character on lock. They disappear into them, which is difficult when you have four of the most popular young actors in Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Austin Butler, and Florence Pugh. And let's talk about the performances while we're at it. I think in Dune 1, it was very easy to say that Timothy's performance was bland and even lacked some of the subtlety people wanted to see from Paul Atreides, which I still don't think is the case, actually. I think this is one of the most complex characters in science fiction history, and to try to portray all of that complexity in the first film of a trilogy would be nearly impossible and wouldn't even fit with the story. So I love Timothy's decision to do what Paul Atreides does best, analyze, sit back, and strategize, as we were getting used to the world of Dune in the first one. And as Javier Bardem's character says in the second, something along these lines, the prophecy is true. Muad'Dib is so humble that he does not even believe that he is Muad'Dib himself. And Timothy shows this perfectly. He portrays this beautifully. You can't have the yin without the yang. And it takes a real discipline as an actor to understand this, and Timothy made that sacrifice of coming out and showing everyone his acting chops in the first film so that we could see the incredibly dramatic transformation of Paul Atreides that matches the books to a T. I'm genuinely proud of Timothy, like a person I've never met, but I just think he accomplished something really amazing with his character, and I can't wait to see what he does in the third film and in the future. Zendaya was brilliant. I mean, she really disappeared into this role. I felt like I disappeared about 25 to 30 minutes into this film, Everyone just served their purpose and donated their energy to the greater good here. The standouts in this film for me were Austin Butler. I mean, this dude just continues to wow me. This is genuinely so much better than I could have even pictured. Fade Ralpha, when I read the books, like, wow, he is so good in this. I hate just saying he's so good and not like backing it up at all with context, but it's tough to even pinpoint the subtlety of his brilliance. Bravo to him. I thought Sohaila Yacoub was a real standout as Shishakli, Zendaya's Fremen best friend. Rebecca Ferguson, again, unbelievable. Leigh Seydoux was brilliant in her very limited but incredibly important screen time. And let's talk about my boy Javier Bardem. Is this the same dude who played Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men? It surely cannot be. I think Denis just told Javier that he could do absolutely anything he wanted in this film, and Javier knocked it out of the park. He is the funniest part of this film. He's so magnetic. I couldn't keep my eyes off him. Not that I was taking my eyes away from this film. I think he sold the religious aspect of this story so well. He was a believer through and through in Paul Atreides, in the Muad'Dib, and it was as charming and comical as it was existential and kind of heartbreaking. The trust Denis gave to his cast is so inspiring as an actor myself, but this was just one of the risks here. His decision to go no score during the Fade Ralpha Paul Atreides fight, it's just absurd, and it works so well to a point where it doesn't even feel like a risk. It's just like, I couldn't even picture this in a different way. Us hearing the stakes here, everyone silent as they see their prophet essentially risk his life. It's just brilliant. The Gurney versus Rabban Harkonnen fight, I really loved. I think it matched the energy here. Rabban was kind of on his decline, and I think dragging out a fight, as I've seen other science fiction pieces do just because, would have been overkill, and I loved how it just ended quickly. I just cannot get over that this film has zero flaws, but it wasn't like a David Fincher film where you feel like the filmmaker is trying to be flawless. It just was flawless. It also feels good to have seen this in a time where I'm not 12, like in Harry Potter's case, or where I'm watching the lesser remakes come out as I'm an adult, like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. I'm in this experience as a conscious adult for a legendary sci-fi film trilogy, and it's a really cool feeling. It's so contagious to talk about this film. I'm excited for more and more people to see it, to read the books. I think it's going to dominate a good chunk of 2024 here, even in a time where even the most influential media struggles to stay the topic of discussion for more than a week. I think something the Dune marketing team is also getting very right is how much they're pushing this on TikTok too. TikTok kind of controls what the story of the day or week or even month is, and most filmmakers and film companies and productions overlook it, not fully understanding its power or just kind of poo-pooing it as a childish app. Dune is all the way tapped into this. I've seen so much content, and the fact that they got the stars to make stuff for this is brilliant. It really draws me to the production. We will see so much of this going forward, I'm sure, especially as Dune sets this example, but it's really important. I don't know what comes next, but I'm so excited to be alive in a time where Villeneuve, Nolan, Lanthimos, Scorsese, and other massive directors are getting these massive budgets and are still focused on innovation of craft and industry. I think film is headed in a really fun, intellectual, promising direction, and I'm so pumped to be here for it. My only complaint with Dune Part 2 is that the Regal I saw this at did not give the friend that I went with, Dune Pt.2 popcorn bucket. So we were off to a rough start, but it turned all the way around. For me, Dune Part 2 is a 5 out of 5 out of 5 out of 5. It's a 6 out of 5. It's amazing. Let me know what you thought of the film. This is so amazing. I'm buzzing. Go see Dune 2. I'm going to get my ticket for the second screening now.